Welcome, everyone.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. I'm Sage,
I'm Megan.
and you're back with the Squeaky Floorboard Society.
Woo!
We have a very short episode today, but
Yeah.
we also have a big update.
Yes.
So, if you guys don't remember last week in the More Back episode, we talked about a Halloween parade in Hanover, Pennsylvania, where they had a gate that resembled the one over Auschwitz.
Well, resembled is a weak word to use there. It said Arbeit macht frei.
Almost basically an exact replica.
Yeah.
Hanover released a thing on the ABC 27 News that said Hanover community, or well, quote, Hanover community is invited to attend the Holocaust education session, end quote. The article then says, quote, YWCA Hanover is deeply saddened and disturbed by the inappropriate images and messages displayed during this year's Hanover Halloween parade, end quote. A statement posted on the social media from the YWCA reads, quote, the image of the Auschwitz concentration camp gates evokes a painful history and has no place in the community celebration. Such symbols represent hate, intolerance, and murder and suffering of millions, and their use is wholly inconsistent with the values that the YWCA stands for, end quote. So I was looking at that and I wanted to see who owned the float.
I didn't. Okay, I know who owns the float, but I did not know they were doing a Holocaust seminar.
Yep. I think it was at the beginning of this month that they hosted it. So that will this ages this just a little bit, but the float belonged to the St. Joseph Catholic School.
It's how did that slip by?
I don't know. Someone did not, I guess, didn't actually look.
That's that's crazy that slipped by.
The float's designer later apologized, saying that the intent was to depict a cemetery entrance using online photos, that the harmful symbolism was a mistake.
I'm okay. Here's my thing. Here's my thing. I am sure that probably was something you could potentially get as a search result. Do people not read captions on images?
I'm looking it up right now to see if it even comes up.
Do you know what's even crazier? I forgot to turn my lights on. Okay, I don't know how he could have possibly gotten that as a reference. I have a friend that I was talking to about this, and you can leave this in because I'm not going to say who the friend is.
All right.
But I was talking to a friend about this because they not only also took 4 years of German. For those of you who don't know, I took 4 years of German in high school. No, I'm not fluent. Um, because this friend did most of my German homework for me. But he and I literally just sent him the picture and I was like, hey, this wasn't a Halloween parade. And he said, I'm sorry, is that the fucking Auschwitz gate? And I was like, yeah, the guy says he didn't know. And he was like, that guy knew. He said, there's no way that you can possibly, because I told him like what the guy had said,
Yeah.
because I'd already found an article on it. And he was like, there's absolutely no way that guy had no idea. If anything, I think he just thought nobody would clock it.
Yeah, because I'm even looking up, like, I've typed in like 15 different types of searches, and I looked, and none of them.
Like, not I'm not gonna say anything too bad because I don't want the guy to like sue me one day if he ever hears this, which he probably won't. But um, no, I feel like he
Yeah.
had to kind of know.
Yeah, I looked up like 6 different forms of like gates and like got
And
really specific with what style of gate, and it didn't even come up.
hang on, I'm gonna look up gate with words over it and see if it comes up
Ooh, too
because
bad when I
maybe
didn't do
he
that.
wanted. Maybe he wanted that vibe. Yeah, not not popping up. I'm not saying that it's not possible. Maybe he had the craziest
Google
search term of
search.
all time. Maybe Google was on crack that day. Maybe the CIA implanted that image into his search term so that he would get in trouble. I don't know. I'm just saying it's not popping up.
I
You know
even
what
typed in
it
creepy old iron arch entrance with stone.
it is worth mentioning that sometimes things like this will happen and Google will step in and audit their search results for things.
Yeah.
So that's possible. But like either A, you knew and thought it looked cool and and you thought nobody would notice what it was and so you went with it, or B, you're genuinely the stupidest fucking person alive and can't read. I know not every single one, but without a doubt, there was a caption on that photo that said Auschwitz.
Yeah.
You know, like the caption that comes up when you click on a photo on Google that tells you what it's an image of.
And like if you didn't, why you put German on there, would you not look at it?
Would you not run it through Google Translate? I mean, even if he did, work makes you free. That's all that means. Maybe
Yeah.
he could think, oh, you work until you die. Then that is scary. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
And it is a Halloween parade. But if you Google Arbeit macht frei, it comes up as what it is. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very well known term associated with the Holocaust at this point. So,
It's crazy.
and if you click on the image of those, if you were to click on an image on Google, what comes up underneath it
Well,
other than the caption?
hi, this is Editing Sage here. So I ended up looking up Arbeit Makfurai on the actual like Google, like typed in meaning, and it actually didn't even bring up a translator. It brought up everything with the Holocaust. So Megan has a huge point with this, just so you guys know. I want to see if
Associated images. Associated images. You didn't click on that gate photo and then notice all the pictures of like Holocaust victims under it?
all right.
Either you knew and just didn't think anyone would notice, or you're so stupid you shouldn't be entrusted to do anything ever again.
Yeah. I even typed in the phrase and it did come up with the gate. But it even says like concentration camp under every single one.
Maybe he didn't know what maybe he thought that was just a place people went to like fix their ADHD.
Although this one doesn't say concentration camp, this one says the liberation of Auschwitz, but it's the museum picture.
And it still says Auschwitz under it. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
using anything in a Halloween parade that even is associated with Auschwitz.
This one says Israeli steals Auschwitz items for student art project.
Well, now we can't say anything about that on here either, or we'll get in trouble.
Well, are we ready to transition? Do you have any small talk?
No, I'm actually pretty content to just be mad at that guy for today.
Well, today we're diving into two stories, and this is going to be a shorter episode. So, the area we're traveling to today is Limburg, which is actually in the Spanish Netherlands, and some parts of it is modern day Netherlands and Belgium. And today we're talking about Henry. I want to say Gardinn, but that's what I'm choosing it to be. I could be wrong. I don't speak foreign languages. I'm so sorry. So he was born around the 1570s and was likely a commoner. We can make like an educated guess that he was probably a woodcutter, a general day laborer, or a peasant farmer. In the early 1605, the Duchy of Limburg was an area that was full of fear and suspicion. Now, the article I found talks about the 30-Year War. So, based on the story we have and the timing of things, I'm assuming this was the time leading up to the war happening.
Okay.
So, the 30 Years' War loomed, bringing famine and lawlessness. So I think we've discussed it before, but if you don't remember, the 30 Years' War was a huge conflict that occurred in Europe from 1618 to 1648, and it was primarily driven by a religious strife between Catholics and Protestants, as well as territorial and political rivalries. It began in Bohemia and spread across Central Europe, resulting in an estimate of 8 million deaths due to warfare, famine, and disease. The war was considered one of the longest major conflicts influenced by religious divisions and significantly shaped the political landscape of Europe.
I mean, to be fair, I think the 30 Years' War is probably one of the longest wars, regardless of cause.
Yeah, I can't think of any other.
I mean, it's definitely up there.
Because I think most of them are at least like almost all the battles that I can think of, or wars and stuff like that, are under 10 years.
I want to say that, like, is there a 70 Years' War? Why do I feel like there is? Keep talking. I'll look up if there's
I
a
mean, there's a
longer war.
500-year war, but that like is a whole different thing that we can get into. So little is known about Henry's early life. We know he was a peasant in Limburg, and he likely grew up in a tiny cottage taking care of fields, or more than likely foraging. He was likely in his 30s for his arrest. Rumors and local oral traditions paint him as a recluse. He was probably a widow and had no kids, but we do know that he was part of a trio. One of the members of this group was Jean Le Loup, who was a known drifter. The other we have no information on at all. Given that Henry lived like solitude and poverty made him an easy target for accusations during this time. Henry confessed to murder and cannibalism of an unnamed child who was between 8 to 12 years old. Around March 5th, 1605, the child vanished from a village near Houston, possibly out gathering firewood. The crime came to light when the child's remains were discovered on March 6, 1605. Parents were frantic over the disappearance. They alerted Magistrate William van der Horst, who dispatched militiamen to investigate. Henry was coerced into giving a confession through torture, as they all are,
Right.
except for I think two cases.
Cease.
These was one of them. I think we had another case.
I don't think Hans was tortured.
Yeah, I don't think Hans was tortured either.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
So maybe there's
Hans,
a.
if we're wrong, correct us.
I feel like a case that I recently just got like talked about.
There was one guy that we didn't really get anything on in one of your last cases where it was the three guys.
Yeah, Filbert.
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 I wanted to say Delbert, but that was the name of my teacher I had freshman year. His
Really?
name was Delbert. Yeah. He wore overalls every single day as a teacher.
Oh my goodness. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had this one substitute teacher who wore suspenders, and he was the only
I have a
person I've ever seen that wore suspenders,
I have a coworker who wears suspenders every day.
like for like the actual purpose or for like a fashion.
Yeah, for the actual purpose. He uses
Okay.
them to help keep his pants up. It's actually my boss's husband. He works there too.
Hey, because I feel like there's like I see a lot of people that wear them as like to be like cute and trendy for something, but not for
Didn't
like
that Did that not die out in like 2017? Do
I
people
s-
still do that?
I still see people that do it.
They're probably all my age, aren't they?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
also, as a side note, the three longest wars are the that are actual like wars per se, because you could argue that the Warring States period was also a long period of war, and obviously with the American Indian population, which I'm sure is what you were referring to, is
the
also called the
500-year
500
war.
Years War. Um, but in terms of mostly continuous fighting, it's the 100 Years War, the 80 Years War, and the 30 Years War. And the last like 20, I want to say 20 or so years of the 80 Years War ties into the 30 Years War.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the three longest continuous
I knew
battles.
that had to be up there.
All right. So what's crazy is we're almost done with this already. There's not much information. He is called the Forgotten Werewolf. If you guys couldn't
That
figure out, are
that's my new band name.
you gonna
Forgotten
team up with
Werewolf.
Power Wolf?
I have small talk for the next episode.
I do too. So he claimed that he, Jane, and their accomplice donned a cat's pelt over their heads, and this would cause their transformation into wolves. In this state, they stalked the children through the woods, pounced at them while slashing and tore the victim apart. The gruesome account claimed how they gored the flesh, their jaws dripping with blood, leaving mangled remains strewn across the clearing. He told them about how the child's ribcage was cracked open, how they devoured the organs and the limbs were gnawed down to the bone, causing the bones to splinter. A severed hand with its fingers clawed were later found alongside blood soaked scraps of clothing. No other human victims were documented, but Henry was suspected of mauling livestock like Pierre Jensen, who reported that he had found 5 of his sheep disemboweled on February 28th of 1605. That poor farmer going out and just being like, "Wow, there are 5 sheep with none of their organs where they're supposed to be."
Great.
So their intros were scattered around. These attacks on livestock caused the village to panic and linking Henry to a werewolf. Additional accusations emerged. Villagers claimed Henry and his accomplice hunted at night, and their howls could be heard. A tavern keeper named Maria reported seeing a shadowy beast with blazing eyes near her barn on March 3rd, while Anna Mertens, a seamstress, found deep claw marks on her door. These held strong since fear was strong during this time. The community's reaction was swift and visceral. On March 7th, the villagers gathered in Hoosden Square, their angry shouts demanding justice. Parents were trapping their children inside. Armed militiamen were on the streets wielding blessed silver to repel against demonic beasts. Father Lucas held a firebrand vigil, ringing church bells to banish evil and preaching against occults. I don't know what that word was supposed to be. Oh,
Was it
probably
superstition?
sorcery.
Oh.
It looked like sauvery. And I was like, that's not the word. Preaching against occult sorcery. By March 10th, the village panicked peaked with taverns deserted and fields untended. The hunt for Henry was a tense pursuit. On March 12th of 1605, Captain Hendrick, who was leading the militia band, tracked Henry down to a dilapidated hovel near the outskirts of town. They had received a tip that he was staying there. Bursting through the door, they found him there, his face showing fear. He was shackled and dragged to the local jail. While Jane fled into the shadowy woods, evading capture until 1607, we will go further into that here shortly. The third accomplice completely vanished. Henry's capture was captured on March 12th, marked the start of his harrowing ordeal. He was confined in a cell and faced several interrogations. Torture began on March 13th. By March 15th, under a lot of pain, Henry confessed to occult practices, claiming a cat spell enabled his shapeshifting. On March 20th, the rack was employed and hot irons were used. After several days of torture, we know he confessed to all of the crimes, as we have already stated. So his trial began on March 25th of 1605 and was judged by Judge Pieter van Loon, and it was held in a very crowded courtroom. Van Loon read Henry's confession. Father Lucas testified, branding lycanthropy a satanic pact, while villagers recounted their sightings and claw marks. No defense was permitted as accused witches were presumed guilty. The lack of evidence, no witnesses to transformation, and no pelt didn't matter. The confessions were enough. So on March 28th, Van Loon announced the death sentence. Henry was to be burned alive, and his execution was set to be held on March 30th in the square. At dawn, Henry was shackled and dragged out through the crowds. He was tied to a wooden pyre, and the militiaman used torches to begin the fire that would kill Henry. Within minutes, he was nothing but ashes. Now, there's not much on Jan at all. I ended up finding a little article on Wikipedia, but it was in a different language and it wouldn't let me translate, so I had to plug this into Google Translate.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm not entirely sure how accurate this is.
Right.
Jan's name was heard during Henry's trial. It was said that Jan convinced Henry to become a werewolf like him, and together with the third accomplice, they stole a child and ate him. While Henry was caught, Jane was able to flee. He went to live in a different village, but was arrested and charged in 1607. At first, he denied all accusations, but later, during torture, confessed that he was a werewolf wizard who was indeed eaten a child. He had
Werewolf wizard.
he had also contacted with the devil, whom he called Clant. So the devil's name is Clant.
I believe that. It sounds familiar.
The devil did not allow him to go to confession anymore, otherwise, he would be thrown into the water. He also admitted that he had sexual relations with the devil. It said the devil looked like an animal at the bottom, was cold and smelly. He continued to tell these stories and confirmed that after the tortured and after he was convicted, he was strangled on the pole and was burned. Afterwards, a stake with a wheel was erected at the execution site with a wooden image of a werewolf on it.
Okay, at least they strangled him first. I'd rather be strangled than burned.
Yeah. And that
He got off
is the
he got off
stories.
easy. He got off easy because it'd been a few years.
Yeah.
Also, if you're on the run from the law. Why are you just going like one village over? You
I
need to go
know.
like several villages over.
Yeah.
You've got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah. What do you think about the werewolf wizard?
Incredible. Phenomenal. Uh were was any of this church backed? Do you did that come up? Because this is gonna surprise people. The church typically did not accept confessions made under torture. The the Inquisition themselves, despite their bad rap, typically did not employ torture because those confessions were not considered viable. They did in some cases, absolutely.
Yeah, there's been quite a few
But
cases that I've covered
it
that they did.
it was like less than 5% of cases.
Yeah.
And I think
And I've
almost
covered
all
all
of
of
them
them.
I think almost all of the ones were like considered extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Because overall the Inquisition did not allow torture. That's a fun fact that I like to tell people because, yeah,
This
people
doesn't
don't
say
realize
if
that.
it was church backed or not. Literally, all the information I just gave you was all the information there is.
Yeah, there were limits on it, and also by country, there were certain laws. Like if you look at the witch craze in England,
Yeah.
um, there, like Matthew Hopkins got really creative with how he forced confessions out of people because he couldn't torture them by English law.
Yeah.
So even in the case of like witchcraft.
Which is wild.
I'm also really, really curious about how many of these cases that do employ torture um would hold up in a court outside of like a small town, because like the Salem witch trials are another really good example. So initially they were, jailing and convicting people and hanging people because they accepted like spiritual stuff
Yeah.
as material fact initially, like spirit apparitions. So like, oh, the apparition of so and so is torturing me and I can see her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she's biting me. Like that was accepted until a higher court stepped in. I think it was maybe the new governor from England, because they had like lost their charter.
Okay.
So they had a new governor sent from England, and he did not allow that as material, as like material proof. And so
Which,
then they couldn't convict people anymore, basically, because there was no real evidence.
yeah.
So I'm curious if this trial would have, like, if that was me, I'd have been like, I want a retrial by an actual fucking court.
Yeah. I don't know too much on it because obviously, like, the information that we have is everything that I just read you. Like I said, it was a
Mm-hmm. Right.
very tiny story.
Right. Like, I'm just thinking, like, overall, and I didn't really think about it until I was listening to something else. And I was like, oh, that kind of applies to what I've been to, and what Sage has been researching.
Yeah. Because most of mine,
So,
I think almost all but like three of the stories we've even discussed about like werewolf cases in the old days have been
yeah.
tortured. Except for
Yeah.
Thies. Thies was just on his own page.
He was just really marching to the beat of his own drum.
He
He was
really was.
everyone else was following the drum line. He was playing the damn bongos, you know?
Yeah.
You know what? I bet he would have loved the bongos if you'd given him a pair. He just seems like the kind of guy that would be like, "Hey girl,
Yeah, definitely.
do you want some folk medicine?" That was me playing the bongos for the listeners. I mimed playing the bongos. But no, it makes me sad hearing all these cases
I
because
feel,
the legal standards in these small towns were just not it.
yeah. I think that our next one, the next one I cover, I think we get a little bit more courty. I think.
I like that. I
I
like that a
I
lot.
think. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
Well, I think that's that
This
on
is
that.
Yeah,
I said
very
it was
short
a
episode, guys.
I said it was a very tiny episode this week. So,
It's like a little you're micro dosing the podcast this week, guys.
yeah, we are. So, yeah, let us know
To
your
be,
thoughts.
I will say, to be fair, we've had some stuff going on in our personal lives, especially on my end. Uh, so
We're
you
doing the
were gonna
best
get a
we
short
can.
episode.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, if you have any stories, ghost stories, if you've spotted dog band, if you've seen Bigfoot, send those stories to our email. The email will be in the description below, or in just the description in general if you're listening and not watching. We want to know all your spooky stories because we want to start telling y'all stories out loud.
And also, just any questions, comments, concerns, please drop a comment or email us. We started getting comments from people. I saw one on one video,
Yeah.
and I know why you're laughing. Um, but comments help us out a lot, especially on platforms like YouTube. It's good for the algorithm.
Yeah.
Even
And
if your comment is just to tell us that we're stupid and you hate us, that's fine. It still helps.
yeah, it does help. I don't think people realize that when they are like commenting bad things on people's things that you're still pulling people in. Your comments helping them out.
Yeah. Not that we've had any bad comments.
No. But
However, just as a general note.
oh, I guess I can say this really, really fast. So,
Okay.
if you guys don't know or if you're not here from the TikTok, I have been hosting game nights and like just crazy little things on live to one, help us build a community, and two, just to like teach people about the podcast. And we've done trivia, we have done guess the movie based on the terrible description. Our previous two at this moment when I'm saying this, our previous two trivia rounds have been won by the same person.
However, technically,
There was a tie.
they there was a tie the second time.
There was.
Yours truly knows her history. I did not win. I lost the tiebreaker.
So, but we like I've been coming up with the schedule and we've been doing all that. So if you're interested in any of that, you should definitely check out the TikTok and maybe you can come in and play trivia or any of the games that my wild mind comes up with. Like I know tonight, which obviously this isn't you're not going to see this until way after, but we are doing Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Oh my gosh, I don't have to work in the morning.
I
I'm
own the
off.
original board game of it. Like, hold on.
Read me a sample question. Are you able to do that? A relic.
Like, I own. Well, what grade do you want?
Just give me like a first grade question. Second grade. Do second grade. People who are listening / watching, you type your answer below.
Do you
Tell
want
us if you're
question one or
smart.
question two? I'm not going to tell you the.
Question 1. Hit me
All
with
right,
one.
world geography. The country of Belgium is located on what continent?
Europe.
It is Europe.
What's question 2?
It's English, and it says if you add the suffix ly onto the word quick, you'll make a new word. What part of speech is that new word?
Adverb.
It is an adverb. I did not know that.
You didn't know Napoleon was real.
Yeah, let's not hold much to my standards.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in.
And then hopefully we'll see you again next week.